Hi everybody, Brian here from Touring Plans. We are restarting this. I had some technical difficulties the first time, so as I wait for everybody to come on, anyone watching this later won't know that because I've deleted the other one, so you're only seeing this one. But this is our discussion of Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince to continue our discussions on these things. Okay, I am going to try to add Angela again. This is where we kind of ran into problems last time. This seems to be... Yes, I would like Angela, and let's see, hopefully it will not flip me sideways and upside down like it did the first time I tried this.
Okay, hello.
Yay! Okay, good.
Okay.
Now we're
Back on track.
I don't know
Someone
what,
said,
I hit the thing in the corner that was like a quick add button, and it flipped me upside down and put you in sideways somehow. So I didn't do that this time.
oh, that's so strange. Someone said, as far as allergies, it was the barometric pressure, which makes sense, I guess.
That does make more sense with sinuses, yeah.
So that's good to know. Thank you for pointing that out. I guess, I don't know, I didn't think about that. But yes. Okay, so hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Brian, do you want to recap what we're going to talk about today in case they didn't see our mishap a couple minutes ago?
Yes, which they won't because I'm deleting that one. So
good.
Yeah, we are talking Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, 6th book and movie in the series, although our 7th one, because we started with Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. But only one more book and 2 more movies to go, so we'll only have 2 more of these discussions after this, which is a little bit sad, although that means that I will be going to Universal to see the Harry Potter stuff, so I'm happy about that.
So not sad for you, and it will also mean that we'll get back to doing more of our Disney chats. So if that's something that you're more interested in, we'll be doing those more often. So that'll be good for
I think
you guys.
I'm going to try to do a YouTube live tomorrow. So so watch our YouTube page for that. Danya, I go the middle of August. I think I will be at Universal on August 18th, 19th, somewhere around there. The Sunday of that weekend, whatever that is the day I'll be at Universal. So, and I'll be at Disney the 2 days before that.
And maybe in the next week or 2, I will put up my Harry Potter vlog, maybe around the time we talk about the 7th book, just to kind of, I don't know.
Well, half of the 7th book, I guess.
Yeah, half of it. And then let's just go to comments a little bit. Hello, Dee. Hello, Harley. Hello, Joao. He's one of my jiu-jitsu coaches. Thanks for joining. And then Danya asked when you go. Harley said this is her least favorite book. It is actually my favorite movie. As I was watching it, I was realizing just how much I liked it. But as far as favorite book, I actually think it's my favorite book too. Third book is my favorite.
This is my favorite book, actually.
I really enjoy this book too, though.
I don't think it's my favorite movie, although I haven't sat down and really thought about my rankings of the movies. That's something I will probably do when we get to the end. Just because, I don't dislike this movie. This is the one where I dislike very strongly one of the choices they made for the movie from the book. And there are some other changes I disagree with, but they don't, it's not a big deal. There is one that I feel like is a very big deal, so which we will get to in a little bit.
Yeah, and as far as the movie, I just kind of like how they did it. I like the directing and the edit. This was my favorite intro out of all of them. It just kind of started off very exciting right off the bat.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about that a little more later.
And that's actually one of the reasons I like the book is the first 3 chapters in the book are fantastic. They're some of my favorite writing that J.K. Rowling did. They only use one of them, the chapters in the movie. They skip the other 2, but those are just some of the decisions that I can at least understand why. But no, I love this. If people watching have not read the books and have only seen the movies and are curious, this is, of all of them, this is probably the book that I would recommend reading the most. I think there is, I think the background information in the book is the most relevant to the overall story in this, the stuff that they don't show, especially there's a lot more stuff that happens in the pensive in the book than in the movie, and all of it is not necessary for the story, which is why they cut it, but very, very cool stuff, which we'll talk about some of that stuff, but yeah.
And before we start our summary, Tanya is actually going next week to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
I think she means she's going the week after I do.
Oh, shoot, the week after you.
I think she means that, yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, you guys could have met up, and so she could have said hi. Well, that's a bummer, but still, you'll be very excited. It's going to be very fun. Okay, summary. This is the boring part, but it is necessary if we're going to talk about the movie and the book. So
yeah, it makes it easier than just trying to go through all of the plot points. So
yeah, just look on your Instagram or something while we do this. All right, go.
Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Lord Voldemort is tightening his grip on both the Wizarding and Muggle worlds, kidnapping Ollivander from Diagon Alley and destroying a bridge. These, by the way, are the recaps for the film, not for the book, which would be longer. Enough. Yes. After the Malfoy family is disgraced when Lucius is apprehended and sent to Azkaban for his involvement with the Death Eaters, Voldemort chooses Draco to carry out a secret mission at Hogwarts. Bellatrix Lestrange and Narcissa Malfoy, Draco's mother, Lucius's wife, seek help from Severus Snape, who claims to have been acting as a mole within the Order of the Phoenix all along. Snape makes an unbreakable vow with Narcissa to protect Draco and fulfill the assignment should he fail.
Harry accompanies Albus Dumbledore to the village. Why do you give me the hard name? To the village of Budleigh Beverton.
I think that's exactly right, yeah.
Oh, good. Okay. To visit former potions professor Horace Slughorn. Professor Slughorn has been in hiding, but agrees to return to teach at Hogwarts. Dumbledore then takes Harry to the Burrow, and that's where the Weasleys live, where Harry reunites with the Weasleys and Hermione. When the main three go visit Fred and George's new joke shop at Diagon Alley, which we'll talk about in a little bit, they see Draco entering Nocturne Alley with a group of Death Eaters, including Fenrir Greyback, who is kind of like, he's a werewolf. Harry believes Voldemort has made Draco a Death Eater, but Ron and Hermione are skeptical. On Hogwarts Express, Harry hides in the Slytherin carriage using his invisibility cloak. Harry is spotted by Malfoy, who petrifies him and breaks his nose. Harry is found and saved by Luna Lovegood.
At Hogwarts, Harry and Ron borrow textbooks from Slughorn's potions class because Snape is now the new Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, and Harry is stuck with a copy that turns out to be filled with helpful notes and spells left by someone calling themselves the Half-Blood Prince, hence the title. Harry uses the book to excel in the class and impresses Slughorn, winning a vial of liquid luck. Ron becomes keeper of the Gryffindor Quidditch team and forms a romantic relationship with Lavender Brown, upsetting Hermione. Hermione likes Ron. Harry consoles Hermione and reveals that he now has feelings for Ron's younger sister, Ginny.
Harry spends the Christmas holidays with the Weasleys, and on Christmas Eve, Harry discusses his suspicions about Draco to the Order of the Phoenix. Harry's suspicions are dismissed by the Order, but later on, Arthur Weasley, who is Ron's dad, tells Harry privately that the Malfoys may have been interested in the Vanishing Cabinet, or in a Vanishing Cabinet, which, again, we'll talk about a little later. I lost my spot. Oh, Bellatrix Lestrange and Greyback, who, again, was the werewolf, attack the Burrow and burn it down, drawing Harry into a battle, trying to save Ginny before the Order arrive and fight them off.
Back at Hogwarts, Dumbledore reveals to Harry that Slughorn possesses a memory of Voldemort that Dumbledore needs desperately. Slughorn gave Dumbledore the memory, but it was an altered version that made it appear that Slughorn did not know anything at all. Dumbledore shows Harry the altered memory and asks him to confront Slughorn and retrieve the real one, but when Harry brings it up, Slughorn gets angry and refuses to talk any more about it. After Ron accidentally ingests a love potion, Harry brings him to Slughorn for a cure and to smooth over their argument from earlier. After curing Ron, the trio celebrate with mead that Slughorn had intended to gift to Dumbledore. The mead poisons Ron. Harry is forced to save his life. Ron murmurs Hermione's name while recovering, causing Lavender to end their relationship. Harry confronts Draco about the poisoned mead and cursed necklace that wasn't in this summary, but that was given to Katie Bell, another member of the Gryffindor Quidditch team. Harry uses a curse from the Half-Blood Prince's potion book in the ensuing fight with Malfoy, which severely injures him. Luckily, he is healed by Professor Snape, but fearing the potion book may be filled with more dark magic, Ginny and Harry hide it in the Room of Requirement and share their first kiss.
Ooh. Sorry, I had to. I just like ease the awkwardness. Harry decides to use his liquid luck potion to convince Slughorn to give up the memory Dumbledore needs. Harry views the memory with Dumbledore and learns that Voldemort wanted information for creating Horcruxes, which are magical objects that could contain pieces of a wizard's soul and save them from death, which is like super deep. Dumbledore concludes that Voldemort successfully created 7 Horcruxes, 2 of which have already been destroyed. And that would be Tom Riddle's diary from the second book, and then Marvolo Gaunt's ring, which we haven't talked about. Harry and Dumbledore travel to a seaside cave where Harry aids Dumbledore in drinking a potion that hides another Horcrux, which is Salazar Slytherin's locket. A weakened Dumbledore defends them from Inferi, which are kind of like dead people that are enchanted to kind
zombies,
of
basically.
Zombies. And they apparate back to Hogwarts. Bellatrix, Greyback, and more Death Eaters enter Hogwarts with Draco's help through that vanishing cabinet that we mentioned in the Room of Requirement that Draco managed to connect to one that he had been working on in Nocturne Alley, which was in Diagon Alley, part of that.
And almost done here. Dumbledore instructs Harry to hide and to not interfere no matter what happens. Draco arrives in the Astronomy Tower, disarms Dumbledore, and reveals that he has been chosen by Voldemort to kill the headmaster. Draco is unable to bring himself to do it. Snape casts the killing curse instead. Harry confronts and attacks Snape, but Snape overpowers him and reveals himself as the aforementioned Half-Blood Prince before escaping.
Dun, dun, dun.
Harry returns to Hogwarts, where the student staff and a few guests mourn Dumbledore's death. Harry later reveals to Ron and Hermione that the locket Horcrux was in fact a fake. The locket contained a message from someone named calling themselves R.A.B., stating that he has stolen the real Horcrux with the intent on destroying it. Rather than returning for their final year at Hogwarts, the 3 decide to go and track down the remaining Horcruxes. The end.
Okay, welcome back.
Now let us step out into the night and pursue that flighty temptress adventure. Which is a great line that they do not use in the movie.
That's a good segue, Brian, into our talking points.
There's actually a lot. I didn't write them all down because there was too many, but there's a lot of sections and lines of this book that I really, really like, and they used none of them in the movie. I think by this point, the guy doing the screenplays was just sick of writing them, and he was like, you know what, I'm just going to do whatever I want here.
He's like, I'm just going to write my own script. Yes. So a lot happens in this movie and in the book. Things are getting really deep at this point, and we're finding out a lot of new information, like the Horcruxes. And this is when, like things have already gotten deep as far as the movies, about book 4 is when that starts to happen. But we're just thinking even further into the connection between Harry and Voldemort and what it all means. So yeah, what do you guys think? What did you think while watching this movie or reading this book? We kind of talked about whether it was our favorite or not. Just kind of tell us your thoughts a little bit while we talk about our first talking point.
So in the way the movie starts with showing some of the destruction that the Death Eaters are causing. They show the Millennium Bridge in London, which is a pedestrian bridge that connects I know it's the Tate Modern on one side, I forget the other one. They show that being destroyed, and then you go to Snape's house in Spinner's End, which I don't think they specifically call it in this, but where Narcissa and Bellatrix convince him to make the unbreakable vow. In the book, the way it starts, it's funny, you don't actually get to Harry in this one until chapter 3, which I believe is the first time you have to wait till the 3rd chapter. There's quite a few other books that start without Harry, but this one they really get into it. And the first chapter in the book is one that I really, really enjoy. I understand why they cut it. Instead, they decided to show what happened, but it's called The Other Minister, and it is the Muggle Prime Minister, the Prime Minister of the UK or Britain. I'm not exactly sure how their government system works, but awaiting a meeting with Minister of Magic, who he has met before as Cornelius Fudge. Now Fudge comes and tells him that he has been sacked, and Rufus Scrimgeour. Scrimgeour, is that how it is?
Scrimgeour.
Okay. They don't say it in the movies. They don't.
I have the audiobook of the 7th one, so it's the only reason I know.
I was waiting because he's not in the 6th book at all. And he starts off the next movie with a speech, but they never say who he is. So I've always pronounced it in my head as Scrimgeour, but Scrimgeour makes much more sense, I guess. Yeah, but it's a fun scene because one, it proves that there is interaction on some level with the two ministers, but also it kind of shows the frustration of the Muggle Prime Minister because he doesn't exactly know what's ever going on in the Wizarding world. Yeah. They just kind of give him these random updates like, oh, we're importing 3 dragons for the Triwizard Tournament, which they actually imported 4, and they didn't tell him about that one. But
I think they mentioned Kingsley, too, how Kingsley had been working for him.
Yeah, he's assigned as a guard, basically, as a secretary who is also a guard for the Muggle Prime Minister.
And he's like, oh, Kingsley, he gets more work done than anyone else. And he's like, yeah,
that's because he's a wizard.
Security, yeah. He doesn't have to try.
Which, again, also has another great line where they explain how it's open warfare, and Voldemort is the one who took down the bridge, and there's been murders. Emmeline Vance and Mrs. Bones, I forget her first name, Susan Bones' aunt, but that we met in Order of the Phoenix, were murdered and all this stuff, and they say, he says, oh, well, that was, that was your people. Why can't you do magic? And they say, well, the problem, Minister, is the other side can do magic too, And, which is, but that's always one of my favorite scenes. One of my favorite ways to start off a book. So I was a little sad, and I guess reading some interviews with David Yates, the director, apparently they went back and forth a ton on whether to include that in there, but they wanted to start it off with more of an action. So they decided to show some of the events that happened that they described in that scene rather than actually do the scene. So,
and ultimately it was the right decision, I think, because you want to see the severity of what the Death Eaters are doing and how it's affecting both worlds to the point where they're ruining bridges in the Muggle world. Like, I've actually walked across that bridge. Ooh, fun fact, I actually walked across that bridge and saw Kevin McKidd from Grey's Anatomy while I was walking across. I passed him, and he was on his cell phone. He plays Owen, in case you guys don't know. Brian doesn't care.
I have no idea.
Yeah, you don't care. Just pretend you care. He's Owen.
No, I said wow. I was impressed.
That was not an unimpressed wow. Anyway.
I would be impressed by seeing lots of random people that no one else would care about. So okay, I'm not one to talk.
Fair enough. But yes, like G said, it's very intense.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, this is one of those changes that I don't really have a problem with. It would have been an odd way to start the movie with, some characters that we're not all that familiar with Cornelius Fudge in the movies either.
Right.
So it would have been an odd way to start the film with just a bunch of people that we don't really know talking about things that we're not seeing. So I'm fine with that. And then the second chapter in the book is the Spinner's End. It's where they go and talk to Snape. That's not all that changed. I mean, there's more dialogue, but it's not that big a deal. Then the third scene is actually where we meet Harry, but it's completely different than the way we meet Harry in the movie. In the movie, you meet him while he is flirting with a girl in a tube station, and in the book he's at the Dursleys where he usually is. The reason I'm a little sad they didn't have this scene in is because, and again, this is one where they said the director said they just wanted to break the pattern of starting at the Dursleys' house, which I get. I don't like. I've talked about this on here before. I don't like a lot of the scenes at the Dursleys' house in the books, but I wish they had cut any of them except from this movie, because in this one you finally find out why Harry has to go back and live there every summer. It's because it extends the protection that his mother placed, because
as long as he calls it home.
Because Petunia carries her blood. As long as he calls that home, as Angela said, he is protected until he comes of age at 17, which will happen in the next movie. But they explain that, and you find out that he was bequeathed Sirius's house along with Creature, the house elf, which we do see the house elf again, and we'll see him again in the next film. But he's not really Harry's. He's just kind of hanging out in the house by himself.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there was some information that we missed by not going there, and things that I think hurt them in the next film because they didn't explain it in this one.
Yeah.
But the scene with him flirting with the girl is very cute. Why Dumbledore just shows up in full robes in the middle of the tube station.
I know, and like no one really questions
much,
it.
You know.
Let's before we move on to your next more about Slughorn, I do want to cover some of the comments that we missed. Harley says maybe part of the reason that I dislike the book comes from the fact that she read it first, and then she had to kind of like deal with her grieving of Dumbledore dying before anyone else could read it. So she had to deal with it by herself, which that would be really rough. And I think my friends were reading it at the same time, but I think that might have been the case for me. Maybe my cousins were reading it too. So I can relate though.
Yeah. See, I was like 27 or something when this came out, so it wasn't quite as big a deal for me, but yeah.
But it still was hard, and Dee was even saying Dumbledore's death caught her off guard as well.
Well, I'll tell. I was going to. So when was this? 2005. So yeah, I was like 26 when this came out. So, but I was gonna tell this later, but I actually remember specifically where I was when I read this because I was working for the government in Washington D.C. at the time.
When you were 25?
Yeah, I started working for the government.
Oh my gosh.
I started working for the government when I was out of college, so I was 21. I was working for the Navy as a civilian. So.
Wow.
And then I went to a different part of the Department of Justice in DC then, but and now I do this, so same thing basically.
And you're reading Harry Potter in your free time.
But and that's what I read it. I was reading it on the metro, on the subway back and forth. I had like a 35-minute or so metro ride, so I was reading it back and forth, and then like on my lunch breaks, because when any of these books first came out, I was reading them, and the other people I worked with were reading them too, so we'd discuss them and at lunch and things like that. So I got to the part where Dumbledore died on my way home from work on the metro, and was trying very, very hard not to cry, sitting wearing a full suit on the commuter metro on the way home. And luckily, because I was very obviously reading the Half-Blood Prince, I had I'd left the jacket on it and everything, because I don't care, but there was a woman like sitting right across the aisle from me who kind of looked, and she's looking, and she's like, did you get to that part? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, oh yeah. She's like, no, now I'm tearing up. So like we were both like, me and this stranger woman who was older than I was, probably in her 30s, who now both of us are like tearing up, like trying not to cry, thinking about it on the train, which was very, very funny. This is as much as I love these books, this is the only time that I got really, really emotional. It did not sit very well when Dumbledore died.
But this is like one of the sweetest stories I've ever heard. Okay, you guys need to like give him a bunch of hearts right now, because this is adorable.
The sad thing is, I am more emotional than I come across, but not generally with, especially with books. Movies, I tend to tear up at more. I tear up more at happy things than I do at sad things. I think it's just one of those things that happens as you get older and more cynical. But but it was very funny because the lady's like looking, and she's looking at the book, and she's kind of leaning over I think to see what page I was on, and but she didn't want to give it away, so she's just like, did you get to that part? I'm like, yeah, just now. She's like, okay. And it will, and again, we don't, although I imagine most people watching this are probably familiar with the end of the series, but I still don't really want to spoil the seventh book and eighth movie. But we do find out that whole scene on top of the astronomy tower. There is more to that story then,
Yes.
but at this point in the book, we don't know that. It just looks like that Snape kills Dumbledore, and it's rough. And the book ends with his funeral and everything, which again they actually do have concept art for. Oh, I'll show you the concept art for it. In fact, but they just never shot it.
Let's also talk about that part, because I know you have very intense feelings about it, besides the fact that you cried on the metro. But we're already on the topic, so let's talk about how you feel about it. And
so this is the concept art of what the funeral scene would have looked like, right there.
Oh, I'm so glad you showed us that, because I always could imagine it, but
it was never. It wasn't actually shot. They had intended.
No,
it was another one of those things that they had intended to shoot and just didn't want to end the movie that way, I guess. So
I kind of wish that they
try to. Well, they try to end all these movies on this optimistic note, which we've talked about before. But this is the point of the series where it's not. It doesn't end optimistic. I mean, it does. It's still, the book still ends with their discussion, like, well, I'm not coming back, and we're not coming back with you. And then actually in the book, which I don't think they do in the movie, Ron says, oh, well, we have to go back to the Burrow because of Fleur and Bill's wedding. Which I didn't even realize until I saw the 7th movie. We don't meet Bill Weasley until the 7th movie, so they couldn't put that line in this movie because we wouldn't necessarily even know who he was. I don't think.
Yeah, and I guess spoiler, he gets attacked by Fenrir Greyback.
Well, it's not really a spoiler because it happens in this book.
But not the movie.
Not the movie, no.
And
but they do. But he does in the 7th movie. He says he had gotten attacked by Fenrir Greyback, and he's all scarred up. But they don't address that. Show it's very strange.
Yeah.
But anyway, my intense feelings for the end of this, and I was going to get to it at the end, but this might be better because people can weigh in on there. I hate and I don't use that word very often. The fact that that they changed the Harry's reactions with Dumbledore. In the book, they get to the top of the astronomy tower, basically the same, although, I mean, they ride up on brooms instead of apparate, whatever, who cares? When they hear someone else coming, Harry is under his invisibility cloak, but Dumbledore immobilizes Harry. He uses the Petrificus Totalis that they did have set up many times, including this film, where Draco does it to Harry on the train. Mm-hmm. So Harry can see everything that's happening, but cannot interfere at all, which we will find out later that is exactly what Dumbledore wanted. He did not want Harry to interfere, and he knew Harry would, because the things that we know about Harry is he is incredibly brave to the point of being a moron about it. Yeah. He will take students and rush in the middle of the night to the Ministry of Magic to save Sirius if he thinks he is in trouble. He will as an 11-year-old will get past a 3-headed dog and go after the Sorcerer's Stone if he thinks that Snape is going after it. Yet in the movie, he is not immobilized. He just stands there and watches the entire thing happen.
He does not say anything. He doesn't scream.
And I've seen the arguments I've seen for it are that, one, it would be hard to display on screen him being immobilized, which I partially agree with, except that I think they could have just had Dumbledore say, right before Draco comes out, just have him say Petrificus Totalis. We know what it means. We don't have to, we already know what it means. It was set up in the film. Mm-hmm. He could be hidden, and he doesn't even have to have the invisibility cloak on. He can just be where he is in the film, but just frozen there. Mm-hmm. And the other argument I've seen is that, well, this way, because Snape comes up and shushes him, but I don't understand why all of a sudden now he decides to trust Snape. To me, Harry still would have blasted his way out there and been like, "Screw you, Draco! I knew it was you all along. Stupefy!" Right. You know, I mean, like it doesn't make any sense to me, and it makes Harry look like a coward. Which is, of all the things you can say about Harry, he is not a coward by any stretch of the imagination. And it sours me on this movie so bad, that decision.
You know, the only defense I can give Harry is that Dumbledore said with all of these, missions is you have to do exactly what I say.
Yeah.
And so he does set that up. Harry was listening. But you think,
Well,
like,
yeah,
once he got expelled,
that doesn't sound like Harry.
kind of go off the window. Well,
to just listen, you know.
Well, and once he was once Snape cursed him, you'd think that kind of go out the window. I mean, literally.
Well, yeah, and in the book it does, because once Dumbledore dies, the spell breaks on him.
Right.
And he does. He starts cursing every Death Eater he can reach.
Right.
But in the movie, he just kind of hangs out until he goes after Snape. I saw somebody ask what book it was.
Yeah, Danya wanted to know.
It's this one. It's the Harry Potter page to screen. It's this massive like coffee table book, but it has
Who's it by?
Bob McCabe, McCabe.
McCabe. Okay.
But yeah, it was something that I think my parents maybe bought for me years ago. And I had forgotten I had it for quite a while. But it has some pretty cool details about like the set design, and it has some very weird. Hold on, there's one photo that I noticed from that was like a set photo from the last movie that is disturbing to see almost. And it is that one of Ralph Fiennes and Michael Gambon just chilling and chatting, but dressed as Voldemort and Dumbledore, which is, I don't know, just a weird thing to see. To see them just sitting and smiling and talking.
It's currently going on Amazon for $75.
Yeah, that's what this thing on the back says. I don't know if that's actually, like I said, it was a gift, so
I'm just going to go ahead and link that Amazon link. Not sponsored, just in case you guys want to order it for a gift or something. There it is for you.
But yeah, so that's my biggest complaint with the movie. That's the one that every time I know it's coming, and as we get to the scene, I'm just like my blood boils as we get there, and I don't like it. But the rest of the movie I'm fine with. The other decision that I don't really like, and not really so much that they did it, but the burrow. There's a scene where we're at the burrow and it's attacked by Death Eaters, and it basically burns down, like it's completely on fire, which is a weird decision to make, because that doesn't happen at all in the book, because the burrow is protected 6 ways from Sunday by like everyone in the order. But right. But then in the next movie, which we have, this is not really a spoiler, but like 2 scenes in, they're all at the burrow.
Yeah, so they must have fixed it
just fine. Like, it just seems weird that they're like, oh, we'll have them attack the burrow, and oh, it burns, and no, it's cool, don't worry. Which, I mean, I'm sure they could just fix it, but I don't know, it just seemed like a weird choice.
It wasn't a cursed fire; it was more of an inconvenience. Like, oh man, now I have to use magic to fix this. Darn, this is gonna take 5 minutes. We do have some comments. Like, Dee thinks that Harry was loyal enough to Dumbledore to follow his orders. Danya thinks she hates how Harry just stood there because she doesn't think he would have. And she hates how he hates Bellatrix for killing Sirius. So don't you think he'd have come after her in the moment? Yeah, and I completely agree. And
in the book, Bellatrix wasn't there. In fact, she wasn't at the school at all, I don't think, in the book. In the book, this whole scene in the book is weird, because there's actually an entire battle going on, like, in Hogwarts, between, there's a few Order of the Phoenix members that are there that Dumbledore gets to help with security while he's gone. It's Remus Lupin, Tonks, and Kingsley. I don't remember who the third one is. There's a third. Oh no, Bill Weasley, of course.
In the book?
In the book.
Okay.
Those 3 are there, and then Harry gives Hermione, Ron, Ginny, and whoever else they can get the task of watching Malfoy and Snape, because he also thinks Malfoy is up to something, and he doesn't trust Snape. So, they get Luna and Neville to help, because they're the only ones that answer the call of Dumbledore's army, and so it's all of them versus a couple random Death Eaters. There's a tall blonde one I don't remember the name of. Fenrir Greyback is there. The Carrows, who we'll meet more of later. and you know, Draco, and I think there's one or two other Death Eaters that are in the castle too. And there's this battle, and they specifically didn't do the battle because they thought it was repetitive to just have battles between Death Eaters and the good side in multiple movies, which
saving it, but
doesn't make sense because that's kind of the whole thing.
Well, if you've seen Lord of the Rings, they do the exact same thing in multiple movies.
But that's also then why they decided to do the attack on the burrow, because they still wanted a Death Eater attack. So all they did was just move it up and have it not be a fight. Just you know, it was weird, but yeah. And then during that battle, Fenrir Greyback attacks Bill Weasley, but he's not transformed as a werewolf. He just kind of mauls him, so his part of his face is like all messed up, and he has wolfish tendencies apparently. But
how that goes is normally like they're more likely to turn into a werewolf if like they attack at a full moon, and he wasn't attacking at a full moon. And Nicole said, I think after Sirius, there's no way Harry would have stood back on his own if not for the spell. I agree. Another reason why they should have included it in the movie.
Yeah, it just seemed like it wasn't that hard to put in there.
It would have been easy, and we never will really know the reason. And Danya said, as far as Bill, he likes his steak rare now, which is true.
Which is perfect for Fleur. That's how she always thinks the British overcook their steak.
So yeah, it works out for them. Let's talk about Universal Studios and. You know, like Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, Nocturne Alley, the things that you will see there. Because this is something Brian's going to see again. He'll probably get some footage of. I've gotten some footage of. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, I feel like they either were already designing Diagon Alley at Universal Studios Florida when this movie was being shot, or something, because we've seen Nocturne Alley once before in Chamber of Secrets, right? I think.
Yes.
And it looked different. It was a little bit wider and bigger and a little brighter even. In this one, it's fairly narrow. It's dark. There's all the posters on the walls. It looks exactly.
The entrance looks exactly the same.
It looks identical to the one in Diagon Alley in Universal Studios, which makes me think that they either designed it specifically off of this version, or I think more likely they already had that in their head when this one was being designed, and they were like, oh, okay, let's make this look like this if we can, you know?
Well, and the film came out in 2009.
Yeah.
And when did Hogsmeade?
Hogsmeade
opened in
Hogsmeade opened in 2010, I believe.
So
and then Diagon Alley didn't open until 2014, maybe.
So either they designed it at the same time, or they designed it off of it.
Yeah, and I don't know which exactly came first, but it just looks so identical to it that clearly this is where they got the inspiration from, because it is exactly like. And actually, the Weasley's Wizard Wheezes, same thing. It looks identical.
It is so cool, and I was getting really excited watching the film because it looks the exact same. Even with the staircase and all of the I don't know, the suites and the pranks. The only thing I wish, and I understand why they can't do this for Universal, is I wish you could use the staircase, and you can't. And I know that'd be really, really tricky with all of the people going in and out. But still, I wish it led somewhere, and it doesn't. But I don't know, that'd be really, really neat. It looks the exact same. It's so cool. And you definitely have to visit there. I will say that a lot of the same suites are going to be the same as what you'll find in Honeydukes, but the pranks-wise are going to be different, obviously.
Yeah, and there's and a lot of the stuff that they mention like throughout you can buy. Obviously, they don't work magically, but it looks, you can buy little pygmy puffs. I mean, like it's crazy. One of the videos I do want to shoot when I'm there in August, I'm going to start doing more of micro looks at the Harry Potter stuff, and I want to start walking through some of the shops, but Weasley's is probably the first one. Just walk through it and just show you like the different stuff you can get there and all the little movie references. That's actually part of the reason I wanted to rewatch these movies, is so I could pick out a lot of the movie references. And yeah, Hogsmeade at Universal opened June 18th, 2010. Diagon Alley opened July 8th, 2014. Was announced in 2011 though, so it's very possible that they either took the art from this movie or worked in conjunction with them.
Well, and they built that set, so they probably just took the blueprints from the set and built it, you know. So wouldn't have been difficult.
The other things from this film that we see are Celestina Warbeck. We first are introduced to by name in this. She is the wizard singer that Molly Weasley is obsessed with, and at Christmas time makes the whole family listen to on their radio. Celestina Warbeck, of course, is a show you can see in Diagon Alley. It's actually really fantastic. It's kind of a jazzy like thing, you know, cauldron full of red hot love.
Hot burning love.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, I think it's hot burning love.
Maybe, maybe that's what it is.
I didn't get to see it the show, unfortunately.
I've only caught the end. I've only ever caught the end of it. I seem to walk up like when they're on their last song, but they're very, very good. And then there was something else. We see more of the Three Broomsticks in this, where they talk to Professor Slughorn in the film. Is in the Three Broomsticks, which you can visit in Hogsmeade, of course.
Yes, and that is connected to the Hogshead. There's no door separating. You just kind of walk through, and then suddenly you're in the Three Broomsticks. So I ate on the Hogshead side, but I could see into the Three Broomsticks, and there's just basically a bar at both sides of either restaurant or either, I don't know, pub. Nocturne Alley, though, definitely suggests walking through. I did get footage of all of Nocturne Alley, including Borgin and Burke's, so hopefully that footage turned out, and I'll do a little walkthrough for you. I don't have any footage of me on camera, but hopefully Brian will be able to get someone he does it. I would definitely like to go again to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter and get more footage at some point, but I was just there, so I don't imagine that will be for a while.
I'll definitely be there in August, and then I'll be at Universal in September for the first Halloween Horror Nights. September 14th, but I'm not sure that evening is the only day I'm going to be at Universal. So, so I don't know how. It depends on when my flight actually gets there. I'm not sure how much time I'll have before it. So I doubt I'll be able to shoot a lot other than Halloween Horror stuff then. So, but that'll be fun.
Justine's going again in October and waiting for word on Celebration of Harry Potter. Was that not as big of a deal as it should have been, Brian? Because you were there around that time.
Yeah, I was there for the last day of it last year. Yeah, Danya says she's heard that they aren't going to do the Celebration of Harry Potter anymore. But
because you went to it,
I haven't heard that. Yeah, it was. I was a little bit disappointed by it. Now they do it over 2 days. It's a Saturday, Sunday, I think, for the most part, and I was there on the Sunday, and the Saturday was when like the actual a lot of the actual actors from the films were there, and they don't get they don't get Daniel Radcliffe or anything like that, but a lot of times they get I can't remember his name, Matthews, on the one that plays Neville Longbottom. He's been there a bunch. He wasn't there this year because I think he was getting married or something like that. The Weasley twins have been there in the past, I believe. The girl who plays Luna Lovegood has been there. You get Warwick Davis that plays Professor Flitwick and Griphook, I believe. He's been there a bunch. You get people like that. But they had and I do have a video of it somewhere on YouTube that I'll find. But it's they have kind of a soundstage set up with props, but a lot of it is just advertising like new games coming out and things like that.
Oh.
And they do a sorting hat ceremony. Where the hat will actually like sort you, I guess. Except when I both like all day when I was there, the line was like multiple hours long, so I didn't actually do it. But other than that, like there was a couple things on the stage. They did some talks. I went to one talk that was called the music of Harry Potter, and I thought, oh, you know, this is fantastic. Like I love the music from the movies. Like I thought there'd be like an orchestra or something, but what it
Right.
was talking about a documentary entitled "The Music of Harry Potter." So it was like the
Oh.
filmmakers talking about how they made the movie that was about the music. And so after about 10 minutes, I just walked out because I didn't really. So a lot of it seems to be advertising other things
Up
that are
and
Harry
coming
Potter related
things.
more than an actual celebration of Harry. So I
Understood.
was kind of disappointed in it, but so I don't know. Maybe it wasn't bringing in the attention. There was a ton of people in costume, both in like robes and things, and then in cosplay. In my if you look at my Hogwarts Express, my writing the Hogwarts Express video, right in the beginning, you will see a girl behind me wearing a toilet who was dressed as Moaning Myrtle in the toilet,
I think I
um,
remember
because
that.
I shot that day. Um, so it's there's like quite a few. I will say even my video, compared to some of the other Harry Potter related videos, has not gotten a lot of views. So I'm thinking it maybe wasn't as popular as people, as it like you said it should have been. It should be. I'm linking my video of it
Yeah.
now.
Going off
Although,
of
like I said, I didn't actually see a ton.
Going off of what you said about the sorting hat, I wish there was a sanitary way to make that an attraction of sorts. Because imagine all
Mhm.
of the people who want to genuinely be sorted without taking some kind of quiz online. Like,
Yeah.
I wish there was a kiosk where you could kind of do a quiz and then you actually
Yeah.
get to try on the sorting hat and then it speaks to you, kind of like a talking Mickey situation. But like they need to
That
obviously make that more sanitary because like how many people are going to try that on?
that would be very cool. And I mean, they could do it without you actually putting the hat on. You
Yeah,
know,
like
where
it
you
kind of like
stand under and
hovers.
the hat hovers, and all you know,
Yeah,
there's lights, and it says like Gryffindor,
I
whatever,
know.
you know.
And like it kind of
And yeah,
talks
like
to you. I don't
I
know.
feel
That'd be
like it
really
wouldn't be
neat.
that difficult, and you'd just have like 3 or 4 rooms, so you could, you know, you wouldn't be. Yeah, I think
Right.
that is something they probably could fairly easily do, but there's a lot of Harry Potter related stuff that they could do that I think, and I'm sure they've thought of all of it, but they're probably just prioritizing what they think will bring the most crowds. I'm still curious, wondering if a Fantastic Beasts thing is what's going to be next. I would be shocked if I would be really shocked if something wasn't announced like next year for it, specifically around the time that say Star Wars Land opens.
I
I could see. I think
suppose.
Universal is saving a big announcement for then. It could be Nintendo World, Land, Park, whatever they decide to do with that. Um, or it could be, you know, an expansion of the Harry Potter stuff. But they are, yeah. And Donnie asked about the new ride. They are, of course, building a new Harry Potter attraction right now, where Dragon Challenge used to be in
Mm-hmm.
Hogsmeade, and yeah, you can actually, um, if you search on YouTube for like details about that ride, there is one particular video out there, and I do not remember who it is, and I don't necessarily know that I want to promote it anyway. There's one particular video that has like all of the details about it. The background story I heard is that somebody lost their job at Universal over those details because they found the leak apparently.
Oh.
Um, so they are pretty much right on. And it's gonna have there's gonna be like a couple of small indoor sections with animatronics. I've heard we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna see Hagrid, we're gonna see Fluffy, the three-headed dog. Um, we're then there's a part where there's a backwards section of it. There's a part with a drop track where you are in Devil's Snare, which you will remember from the first book and movie,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then you know you cast your spell, your light spell to get out of it, and the entire track actually drops, and then you
Ooh.
continue.
Oh
Um,
gosh.
so it sounds like it's going to be real. It's not going to be like a high thrills coaster. It sounds like, but it's going to be very inventive, I think. So
Yeah,
it
it
should be
sounds
pretty
more up to
cool.
par. you know, with
Yeah.
like as far as Escape to Gringotts and such. Now let's see.
But yeah,
Okay,
it's most of it's going to be kind of Forbidden Forest based. I think that's the idea, is that Fluffy was then released into the Forbidden Forest after his watch had ended. So
that's going to be a good one. I think that'll kind of touch on the more scarier aspects too that people want to experience for themselves.
yeah, and it'll be good. It's always impossible to tell with Universal what their height requirements are going to be, because there's like a 36-inch height requirement for the Dr. Seuss trolley, which is ridiculous. But they could probably get away with like a 40-inch on there, which I think would be good for them, because one of the things that does kind of stink about the Harry Potter stuff is Forbidden Journey is 48 inches, Gringotts I think is 46. So, you know, there's a lot of kids that are familiar with Harry Potter stuff that can't ride those. So if they could get something that isn't like Flight of the Hippogriff, which is just a repurposed kiddie coaster, in there, I think that would be very cool.
And like I've said before, after going even the one time to both parks, it's a place that even though there are kid-friendly areas to look around at, or, you know, I would just wait to bring my kids for a long time, just because everything has a huge height requirement for the most part.
Yeah, well, and that's why we were at Universal a couple of years ago, and that was the thing. Like my daughter could do some of the stuff. My son really couldn't do a lot, except like the really basic. I think he was maybe right at 40 inches then, so he could do some of it. But now both the kids are asking to go again next summer, because now they're both over. My daughter can do everything there. My son can do all but like Hulk, and I think it might just be Hulk he won't be able to do, but he doesn't really like coasters anyway that much, so I don't think he'll be. So, but yeah, they're not, well, at that time they'll be 10 and 8 by the time we go. So I think that's about the Simpsons ages are about the time to go. The Bart and Lisa are 8 and 10, or 10 and 8.
So if you're wondering when you should bring your kids, just watch The Simpsons, and when they're Bart and Lisa's age.
Bart is 10 and Lisa's 8, and forever. So.
All right, we're at about the hour mark. Brian, is there anything you want to cover before we say goodbye?
Yeah, quick stuff. One other scene that was not in the movie that I really enjoyed from the book, and again, I think it's a big growth moment for Harry. When they're at the Burrow for Christmas in the book, Rufus Scrimgeour, stops by, actually with Percy Weasley. And because he wants to basically corner Harry and propose to him this ridiculous plan where, you know, Harry is seen just kind of hanging out at the Ministry, and, you know, so that they can basically use it as a PR stunt. And Harry stands up to him and says, "No, I don't like your methods. You know, have you forgotten?" And the minister and holds up his hand that says, "I will not tell lies," still on it, because Dolores Umbridge still works for the Ministry. And Scrimgeour has the nerve to name check her when talking to Harry. And that was one of those parts. And when I'm reading the book the first time, I kind of stopped and went, "Whoa, Harry, okay." Like, because it was part of this. A lot of this book is his conversion from being a child who has been led around by Dumbledore for 5 years. This is his conversion into being more of a leader, which he is then thrust into because of Dumbledore's death. And, you know, the first half of the next book deals with everybody looking to him and him not actually knowing what to do. And then finally, towards the end, he kind of, you know, really steps into the role that he was quite literally destined to play. So, but that was one of those scenes that I think really emphasized that, and I missed it in the movie.
Really, by the time they're 17, you know, they're done with wizarding school and they're expected to be adults and be on their own. So he's the year before that, he should be done. So wizards are expected to, he's kind of right on track as to where he should be at that age.
It was a way, you know, it was just a good, I thought it was an interesting way to show that he is really coming out of that. Like I said, there's a lot of stuff in the books about Tom Riddle's family, the Gaunts,
Mm-hmm.
that are descendants of Voldemort.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's kind of a really interesting story about his mom and his Muggle dad, and how messed up and inbred the Gaunts are and things. But we're probably running out of time. But if anybody watching this who hasn't read the book, like I said, even if you don't read the others, this is one that I think does add some really interesting backstory. Um,
About
that
Voldemort
is
for
cool.
sure.
Yeah,
It'll help
mostly
you
about
understand
Voldemort.
them a
Yeah.
little better.
Hmm.
And there will be another conversation between Harry, Ron, Hermione, and Scrimgeour in the next book that is very similar to
Yeah.
the other one that they had that I think
Yeah.
we'll talk about as well.
And in the movie, they don't really do it. Like they do that scene, but it's not contentious, and I don't even
It's
think
not
they
as
ever
good.
say who Scrimgeour is. It's just a
Yeah.
guy. So, yeah, but I think, oh, the other thing that I always think is funny, and this is a problem of both the book and the movie, is that we find out at the end that Dumbledore knows what Draco's plan is the entire time.
Yeah.
So therefore, and he mentions in the book at least that, you know, he's been careless, that you know, Katie could have died when she touched that necklace, and Ron could have died when he drank that poison. I always
And
think
Slughorn with the wine or the mead.
yeah, and I always think, well, what if they had died, dude? Like, that's cold.
I know. Like, were you just
he's
gonna
just
let
like,
that
okay,
happen?
I don't want to mess up this plan. I'm afraid they might kill Draco, but you know, if these other people die, you know, whatever.
He's
I
like, they're
guess.
expendable.
Like you would think after the thing with Katie, at least he'd be like, okay, we need to put a lid on this. So like,
And that's when you know that Dumbledore is still like the crazy old man that kind of people perceive him to be, and that they kind of make him out to be in the books.
When we get to the last one, I think we'll probably have to talk a little bit about Dumbledore. He is probably my favorite character in these books, but part of the reason that I like him so much, and part of the reason that a lot of people like Snape a ton, and Snape is a great character, is that they are complicated, very complicated, and don't always make the decisions that are nice all the time.
Yeah.
You know, they Dumbledore
for the greater good.
Yeah, which was the motto of one Gellert Grindelwald, you know, suggested by someone else that we know that would be a spoiler for the next book. But yeah, it's a very odd thing. So
our next Facebook Live, let me grab my thing. Oh my gosh.
It is Thursday, August 2nd.
Okay, good. I don't have to grab it out of my bag. Thursday, August 2nd.
Thursday, August 2nd, then Wednesday, August 5th. I had to move that one up a day because Thursday, August 16th is when I leave for Florida. So we will be doing Deathly Hallows parts 1 and then 2, which is good. It will give us a lot of things to talk about, because there is probably quite a bit to talk about in especially Deathly Hallows part 2. When we find everything out, there will be a lot. We may have to just not really discuss the actual plot in that one, because we
might just have to delve right in.
Yeah.
So make sure that you just watch it before, because it's going to be a really long stream.
Yeah, that second part especially, there's going to be a lot to get to that. And the next one, I remember really, really liking Deathly Hallows Part 1 when I saw it in the theater, and I don't think I've seen it since, other than like the 20 or 30 minutes I've gotten through with my kids so far. So I guess I will find that out pretty soon.
But thank you so much for joining us. I know we got a little long-winded, but we're two very big Harry Potter nerds who like the books and the movies. But we will see you on the next stream. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, you can reach out to us here on Facebook, Twitter. We do have a new podcast episode, which I will link below. Otherwise, hashtag TPPOD, TPPod. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Yeah, and if any of you are around on our YouTube page tomorrow, I hope to do a live chat about, Disney and whatever planning and things like that. So if anybody's around tomorrow, I don't know the time yet, probably 11 or noon-ish Eastern time. So check that out. I will link it on Facebook and Twitter before I do it. Yeah. So watch those. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
I missed the button. Nope, still missed it. Hi, everybody.